Across the globe, our most treasured areas of natural beauty have been turned into national parks.
The view is just astonishing. It's just amazing.
Rugged landscapes that inspire adventure.
It absorbs you so much, it's an escapism.
Where history and heritage meets nature and wildlife. In this series, we take a tour of the world's greatest national parks from the air.
The perspective that you have in exploring these environments, feeling so small, is truly unique.
Within each episode, we dive into a new country to reveal the culture and character of their parks and meet the people on the ground, preserving them for future generations.
It's definitely a privilege to be able to stay in a place like this. Time is different somehow.
Iceland's landmass is just 16 million years old, making this one of the youngest countries in the world. A dynamic and rugged island born from volcanic activity. It boasts 3 national parks, each filled with natural wonders and dramatic stories. In the west lies Snæfellsjökull, the setting for Jules Verne's Journey to the Center of the Earth. Sitting at the country's heart is Thingvellir, displaying the split in the Earth's crust that gave rise to this island. And standing in the southeast is Vatnajökull, the largest of the 3 parks and home to 9 volcanic systems, 6 of which are hidden beneath Europe's 2nd largest glacier. In the remote northern section of Vatnajökull National Park is Askja, an active volcano so large, it even contains a lake measuring almost 5 kilometers across. Scientists have been studying this volcano for well over 100 years. But in the 1960s, it was attracting the interest of a different group. Astronauts. Ahead of the moon landings, 2 teams of Apollo astronauts touched down in Iceland to prepare. Askja was chosen because of its striking similarity to the moon's surface. Here they could learn how to identify geologically valuable rock samples.
40 feet down, 2.5, picking up some dust. Contact light? Appears to be very fine grains, almost like a powder. I'm going to step off the limb. It's 1 small step for man, 1 giant leap for mankind.
Of the 12 individuals to set foot on the moon, over half of them first walked on the volcanic terrain of Askja. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin brought back over 20 kilograms of material from the lunar surface. And by the end of the Apollo program, more than 2,000 samples had been collected. But missions to the moon aren't the end of this story. In 2014 and 2015, an eruption in a nearby area called Soaring produced a lava flow almost 1.5 times the size of Manhattan. Once again, the park is drawing interest from those studying the heavens. Only this time, it's because of a surprising biological reaction.
There are few places in the world where one feels transported to another planetary surface. The perspective that you have in exploring these environments, feeling so small, is truly unique and absolutely beautiful.
Today, Christopher and Nathan are surveying the lava flow field.
The scale of the eruptions that took place here, the types of events that only happen every few centuries, that's similar to what we observe on other planets.
Lava flows offer a window into the processes taking place below the Earth's crust. But the shape, texture, and size of the lava in this area of the park is also comparable to that found on Mars.
One way in which drones can really help is to take a mosaic of images by taking hundreds and sometimes thousands of images and suturing them together. It allows us to see features that are much larger than you would see with your own eyes on the ground.
The images and subsequent digital models created preserve the site for future research. Just as this area once helped prepare teams for the moon landings, now the park is helping prepare for future missions to the Red Planet.
So on this side on our right, the area is relatively simple, smooth, and a great place to be able to study the gradual processes that have taken place on the moon. If we look a little bit further towards the left, you can see a far more different landscape. There's some river systems in the front, and also this black lava flow in the distance. This younger terrain, this more complex environment, helps to reflect the more complex history of Mars relative to our moon.
Mars has polar ice caps. It has a history of large volcanic events, and it once had flowing rivers. In 2015, the drone survey recorded something unexpected where the recent volcanic event had crossed a flowing river. And if it's happened in these conditions here in the park, then there's a chance it's happened on Mars as well.
One of the real great surprises was that the hot springs at the front of the lava flow weren't just clear water, they were actually green. With algae and different types of microbes, we were able to identify a species that is known to exist nowhere else in the world. And one of the key questions that came from that was, where did it come from?
Tests in the lab identified the new species and some of the other microbes as thermophiles, organisms adapted to live at relatively high temperatures. When the lava flow crossed the river system, the new, warmer conditions provided the chance to reanimate.
If we can understand how life managed to establish a foothold in this environment in the highlands, it'll help us to be able to understand where to look if we're considering the habitability of Mars and the search for fossil or extant microbes in that environment as well.
To help establish where these microbes came from, Nathan has set up his sampling equipment on the neighboring sand sheet.
This is a really extreme environment. It's a very hostile environment to life. This project is attempting to tackle how life survives in extreme environments, how it spreads to new environments.
A key question is, were those microbes lying in wait, or did they travel here? Nathan hopes to determine if the cells somehow hitched a ride on dust particles.
This is an aerosol sampler. It's really high volume, up to 300 liters per minute. By capturing air onto the filter, we're also capturing the microbes and dust particles and other aerosols that are in the atmosphere floating around and traveling through this area.
Vatnajökull National Park's long history of use for space exploration research played a part in it becoming a UNESCO World Heritage Site with outstanding universal value back in 2019. And it seems this park still has a lot more to offer.
The end is probably never in sight because there's still lots about the universe that we don't know and lots about our own planet that we don't know. There's tons more work to do.
Iceland's active landscape is a hotbed for all kinds of scientific studies. But the national park's dramatic settings are also the backdrop for something remarkably different. The Icelandic sagas. Elaborate, often fantastical tales of the land's Viking settlers. Snæfellsjökull National Park sits on a peninsula in the west of Iceland. It takes its name from the glacier atop the towering volcano. It is also the setting of this area's Icelandic saga, the story of a man called Bárður, whom some still believe to be a kind of spirit guardian.
He had a mother who was human, and his dad was half giant, half troll. People say they've seen him walking along the glacier with a big gray cloak. He had a walrus hide rope tied around him, and he has a huge staff.
Vikings landed in Iceland in the 9th century. The sagas are embellished tales based upon the real-life struggles of these early settlers. Struggles with each other and struggles with this unforgiving land.
The story's kind of real, but the locations were real. So you can visit these places today and say, this is where these sagas happen.
Bárður's story is one of drama, betrayal, and murder. But his legacy is one of a hero.
I know that many people still believe he's up there, like a guardian's looking over us.
The saga suggests Bárður landed in Iceland here, on the beach in Djúpalón Bay. But this area of the national park also has a more recent historical importance. For this was once a place brave men would journey to prove their strength and to get a job.
When I was in school, we were told about the stones. And I think everybody here in Iceland knows about the stones.
It's said that 4 of these stones have lain here for over 400 years. since the time of this cove hosting a busy fishing station. The heaviest stone is 154 kilograms, and that's not all.
No grip or nothing. You see here, on this one, this has grip here, and this one has nothing.
Lifting one of the heaviest three once showed you had the strength to be an oarsman on a fishing boat. The heavier the stone you lifted, the more you got paid. Gumi is one of the proud few to have lifted the heaviest one.
I take a stone first time I was about 30 years old, when I was young and healthy. Now I'm old and my back broke a few years ago. I'm quit. I'm just here to sponsor them.
Iceland is known around the world for its professional strongmen, and many still test themselves on the historic lifting stones found in at least a dozen sites across the country. But for these local fishermen, lifting the heaviest stone here carries extra meaning.
Sjá svo til með hennar. Taka bara teygju, góða teygju á hinum. Þetta ekkert mál.
Það ekkert mál, segja þér.
Fullorðnir menn.
Já.
Sumir aðeins á fullorðni.
Nei.
Billy has lifted the heaviest stone twice before, but at 55 years old, today he's only attempting the second heaviest, weighing a more modest 100 kilograms. The real test for the group falls to the younger generation. Can Thor prove himself by lifting the heaviest stone?
Öflugur. Góður. Þarna. Thor is my son-in-law. He's a fisherman, and I think he's young and strong, and I think he can take it all.
The lift is only successful if the stone is placed on the rock shelf. When Thor came here 2 years ago, he succeeded on all but the largest one.
Yeah, I did not sleep a lot last night. I was really stressed out. I'm supposed to be able to do it, but I'm not really sure if I can because of a lot about technique and not just being strong.
It's a big respect here if you can take the bigger stone. You can tell stories, you know. I did this stone. Svona. Velta honum aðeins fram.
Já. Koma svo. Flottur. Áfram mig. Djöfull blöður maður. Og svo þetta og upp með þetta bara. Já!
Djöfull, ég var ekki að búast við þessu maður.
A kilometre up the coast once stood Iceland's busiest fishing station, where centuries ago, between 40 and 60 boats would row out to sea each spring. Advances in the 19th century, however, saw the industry become concentrated in a handful of coastal towns, while smaller communities lost out. In a few places, like this site in the north of the park, ruins tell the story of the last people who survived in the old way, living off the land and the sea.
This is the old farmstead of Thingvellir, which was inhabited of about 13 families. This wasn't the biggest one, but it was one of the later ones. The last inhabitant here wasn't until 1945. This is Icelandic heritage. This is what we want to keep alive for future generations to enjoy as well and learn. Because we have it really good right now compared to what these people had to go through.
Snæfellsjökull National Park protects the story of this land's sagas and its human history. The connection to this past remains strong.
So I have this photo of my great-great-uncle Kristján, which was taken right over there, just on top of where the opening is. Finding something like that of my family living in an area like this, showing that to people and telling his story, it's always a special thing. Because that is what we are doing with the national park. We're telling stories and making memories going on. And with my family in there, that's great. This is an extra.
The close bond between the people and the land was marked in 1930 with the establishment of Iceland's oldest national park. Thingvellir. Less than an hour's drive east from the capital, Reykjavik, its landscape displays the story of this island's creation. A continental rift, a split in the Earth's crust that is still, slowly, being torn apart. But here in the specific area known as Thingvellir, which means assembly plains, it's what's lying just beneath the surface that makes this one of the most historically important locations in the country.
The assembly site here was established around 930 AD. And this was an early type of a parliament where the chieftains and local rulers would come together and decide on legislation and settle their disputes peacefully. The special thing about this site is that it really reached an entire island, forming an entire country.
Founded just half a century after Iceland was settled, many regard this as the site of the world's first parliament. Those assemblies may have drawn crowds of up to 3,000 people. And the focal point was Lögberg, or Law Rock, where speeches were made and the laws of the land were recited in full. A flag now marks the most likely site, but questions remain.
There are several missing pieces in the story, and we cannot piece it all together just by historical evidence. Now, excavation is a very destructive process, so we want to limit that to as little as possible. By using the drone data, we can get a very good idea of the extent of the assembly site and what we are potentially looking for to excavate.
Research has shown this area is filled with the foundations of structures known as booths. Temporary shelters that were in use during those assemblies that lasted up to 2 weeks. Gunnar's drone work is adding all kinds of detail to this picture. One approach he uses to search for more ruins is photographing the land below with a thermal camera.
The idea goes that the ruins, they will soak in heat during the day, and we can then capture it with the thermal image and see the outline.
To the untrained eye, the rectangular shape of the booths can be hard to make out on the drone's images. But those low-walled structures that people once pitched woolen cloths over to make shelters are even harder to spot from the ground.
Right now we are sitting in a booth, and it's quite a typical booth for its time. It's quite small. It's made out of these stones and turf. On this image right here, we can see the outlines of the booth we are in. We can see very well that it is a couple of centigrades warmer than the surroundings.
Combined with his other drone work, Gunnar's efforts have helped identify a number of new structures and map them in detail. But archaeological sampling here has revealed something further.
The man who used this was not the first one to pitch a tent here and make a booth. He's actually built this on top of and almost completely within an even older booth.
The larger structure likely dates to the early years of the site's use, but this smaller booth is only 300 years old. For the assembly site held these gatherings in various forms for over 800 years.
What has happened here throughout the ages is that people have built booths on top of booths and so on for hundreds of years. We have dozens of booths just piling up to make a man-made hill. And if we overlay the survey data, you can here see very well all of the many different booths and fragments.
Gunnar's work is helping bring the assembly site's lost years back to life, guiding the next step in the effort to confirming once and for all the location of Lögberg.
We have had two contenders for Lögberg, but we believe the one we have marked right now is more likely. However, we would need more research. I feel like with more archaeological excavation and more surveying, we could find ruins that could lead us to a better answer of these institutions.
Thingvellir and Vatnajökull National Parks lie 120 kilometers apart. But each year, the split in the Earth's crust between them widens by 2 centimeters, and the result is often violent. Since the Vikings landed, over 200 volcanic events have been recorded in Iceland. Roughly one every 5 years. The far older legacy of such activity is the dramatic landscape left behind. Despite the dangers associated with volcanoes, one of the biggest tourist attractions in the north of Vatnajökull National Park is Askja volcano, the site where the Apollo astronauts came in the 1960s. Heading out there today is Helga, a park ranger.
Today I will be staying in Askja for the whole day, giving a guided tour for the guests that are in the area. For the past 2 years, we've seen some increased volcanic activity again, so yeah, it's quite active.
The route to the volcano is across the lava flow field from the most recent eruption in 1961.
A considerable lava eruption began on the 26th of October, 1961. And from them, columns of glowing molten lava are thrown up. In scientific circles, these are called lava fountains.
There's a team of scientists that are monitoring the area very closely. But we are here every day, so we are also just looking out for signs. If we see something unusual, we would report that back to them.
As long as activity levels are regarded as safe, the park rangers are on duty here throughout the summer. Today, Helga will carry out some essential maintenance by replacing trail markers lining the route. But first, she's meeting her tour group.
Today, we'll be hiking from here, where we are now, into the main area. So essentially, we are walking in like the old magma chamber of the volcano itself.
Askja is a volcano on a vast scale. 14,000 years ago, eruptions emptied the underground magma chamber, causing the central part of the mountain range above to collapse, creating this depressed circular area known as a caldera. It covers an area roughly half the size of Paris.
Wow, draumur, okay. Heppin.
The end of the tour is perhaps its highlight, and it's hidden from view until the last possible moment.
Once you go up this small hill, the lake kind of just appears. It's an amazing sight that hits you.
The park rangers have a duty to protect this environment. But with 13,000 visitors to the volcano each summer, they also have other concerns. Out here, conditions can change in an instant. So Helga's next task is to replace some of the markers that help guide people to safety when bad weather strikes.
When it's very foggy, it's hard to find your way in the caldera, as you can't really see that far away from you. So I'm just replacing this old pole. Yeah, you want it to be bright like this and not like this. Yeah, this one's done. It's all firm here in the ground, so I will just finish up with the ones that I need to replace, and then we'll be heading back. It's definitely a privilege to be able to stay in a place like this. For me, it definitely brings a sense of calm. Time is different somehow. There's no need for stress. It just really shifts your perspective.
While volcanoes are a key feature of this park, it is named after the ice cap that dominates the southern portion of its land. Vatnajökull. Covering 7.5% of the country, it is Europe's second largest glacier. However, this is not a landscape frozen in place. The glacier has over 30 outlets, areas where the ice advances downhill by up to 600 meters per year. And as temperatures rise in the summer months, melting ice can turn into torrents of water, carving out caves inside the glacier.
As you walk closer, you start to see this black hole has some depth. You go in, your eyes start adjusting, then you actually start to see the beautiful blue colors and the jet black lines of volcanic ash in the ice.
Mike has been a glacier guide in Iceland for 7 years and seen demand soar for this kind of up-close encounter.
You can almost look into the past by seeing the air bubbles that are locked in the ice, and you get to experience something that few in the world get to experience.
Summer ice caves can be dangerous, with rapid water, sudden changes in flow direction, and ice breaking off. But these caves offer a chance to witness the ice evolve.
Of course, if it moves very quickly, it is very brittle, it will snap. But like the ceiling of an ice cave as we're in right now, it can change shape over the course of days or weeks. We can actually see that change, which is a beautiful thing to experience because this is like a living object. It's moving and breathing and shifting its shape over the course of days or weeks. Truly, what you experience today, you cannot experience in a week. This was your experience right now, and no one can experience it again.
The glacier is one of the biggest draws for tourism in Iceland, pulling in around 250,000 visitors each year as they hike and climb their way across this ever-changing river of ice. But tourists and adventurers aren't the only ones to be found in this frozen expanse. Vatnajökull ice cap has been attracting scientists since the early 20th century. And from 1945, aerial surveys have been filling in further details about this section of the park. The results show an alarming rate of recession. To fight this, some feel the solution is not to focus on the figures, but instead on the beauty being lost within the sea of data.
Before I moved here, I didn't really know much about glaciers. But something happened to me. I became absolutely fascinated by glaciers.
Thorri has been photographing this glacier since 2006. And recently he's begun to recognize a new value in this endeavor.
They are documents of landscapes past, landscapes that are gone, that have disappeared, that are never coming back. In Iceland, the symbol of the glacier is one of eternity, of permanence. But in actuality, now, as we're witnessing the climate catastrophe, they are melting before our eyes.
Today, the face of the glacier floats on a lake 8 kilometers inland. But at its largest, around 170 years ago, the ice stretched almost all the way to the ocean. Currently, the rate of retreat here at this face is as high as 300 meters per year.
I haven't been here for maybe a year or so to this place. I've been up on the glacier, and coming down here now, I'm flabbergasted. I was not expecting this. When I come down here, I'm used to having the calving surface not quite in my face, but much, much closer.
Since Thori moved to this area 17 years ago, Iceland's glaciers have decreased in size by around 650 square kilometers. Witnessing this loss inspired him to shine a light on what is at stake.
When the numbers are so huge, it becomes just too big to really comprehend. But there is a need, in my opinion, to bring the science closer to the public. And this is why Kieran and I have been looking at art.
Teaming up with specialist researcher and filmmaker Kieran Baxter, the duo looked to utilize the extensive archive of aerial surveys, but from a new perspective.
Kieran, he came up with this idea to superimpose these historical photographs onto the 3D digital elevation model, which can then be viewed from pretty much any angle imaginable.
Vantage points could then be chosen to match the team's drone shots.
So we are probably somewhere here now. And then this is, the top image is reconstructed in the computer using a satellite image from 1989. By putting these two things together, it gives you an extremely clear picture. I mean, oh, get it, get it! It's much easier for people to understand sort of more typical photograph taking at an oblique angle.
The comparison of still images, however, was only the first step. The team's work was released in 2021 as a short film entitled After Ice. It displayed both the incredible natural beauty of these glaciers, but also the devastating speed and scale at which they are being lost.
This is a global phenomenon which is fueled by carbon emissions, and it can only go in one direction. The whole Vatnajökull ice cap, which is the biggest ice cap outside of the polar areas, has 100 to 150 years left before it's gone, except on the highest mountains. I think the making of After Ice, it allowed me to sort of overcome my own sadness. And there is sort of an afterglow from it, which is that I have really done something. And from that realization, there's only one way forward, which is to continue and do more and do better.
The team's Ice Watch project keeps time-lapse cameras monitoring the glacier's movement, while a new project will attempt to forecast and raise awareness of the possible outcomes for this glacier. Iceland's national parks tell the story of this country's people, traditions, and history. They display nature's beauty and power in equal measure. They offer a window into Earth's past. But in some places, they also offer us a clear picture of where we are heading.
There is no such thing as the future. What we have in front of us are potential futures. And which future we will actually experience, it depends on the actions that we take today. So we have a choice.